So this is Baruch here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. Now what you see in front of you is the Hebrew words for song. So let's talk, remember, for those of you who are not familiar, the Hebrew reads from right to left, not from left to right. I traveled extensively at one time when I was much younger in the Middle East. And believe it or not, the old toilets where the water is flushing and it's going around in a circle. Well, in the United States, it goes clockwise, but in Asia, it goes counterclockwise. So everything is different. The orientation is different. So therefore, in Hebrew, which is an ancient language, we have to understand that the Jewish people lived 2,000 years before the current era, the era of the Roman calendar, of the dominance of Europe, and the mindset of the Europeans, which we're in right now. So here we come into this song, and there's what our master, our king, King David, is able to understand of the ways of God. So he says in Mizmor number 2, which is song number 2, he says, after describing the good fortunes of the righteous and the failure of the wicked in Psalm number 1, the psalmist now answers the classical question which is posed upon this thesis. So if that's true, why then did the wicked prosper? He replies that the success of the evil is short-lived. Their doom is impending, for God himself scorns them from above. If we are not worthy of witnessing their downfall today, the world will survive. We'll surely see it in Messianic times. And there are those who say, and it is the conclusion of most, that we are entering in now into Messianic times. So here the art scroll goes like this. Thus we understand why the sages in the Gemara and Brachos considered the first two psalms as one. Though technically and physically separated, because this is number 2 and that was number 1, they complement each other spiritually and thematically. Although the sages taught that this chapter describes Messianic times, which I believe that is true, Rashi and Radaka, famous commentators, suggest that the simple reading of the text that lends itself more readily to the events of the life of our king, King David's, and his own career. Specifically, it refers to a certain time immediately following his coronation. And the quote is like this from the book of Samuel. And when the Philistines heard that they had anointed David king over Israel, all of the Philistines. Now, Philistine is another word. In Hebrew, the word is Palishti. In English, it's Philistine. Philistine is the old world. The word today is Palestine. Read this again. And when the Palestinians heard that they had appointed King David over Israel, all of the Palestinians came up to seek David, in other words, to wage war. In reality, the two proposed settings of past and future that he's talking, is he talking about now the time of David, which was 3,000 years ago? Or is he talking about now, which is the year 5784 in the Jewish calendar, and we're now in the year 2024 in the Roman calendar? For as explained in the overview, this is the uniqueness of Psalms. He wants to say David had the ability, through meditation, as we're going to see, and the genius that is actually the seichel in Hebrew, the mind, to be stimulated and inspired so profoundly by present events that he could soar above the boundaries of time. This is one of the things that I think Rabbi Memmer is trying to tell us. We could do this too. We have a guide right here. And sing of past, present, and future in the same breath with the same words. And I'm adding my own thought on this, is that the world continues to go around and it repeats itself. That's what happens with a ball, which is the earth itself, and the orbits of the planets around the sun, and the sun moving through the various constellations. All of this is a pattern which is different every time, but it repeats itself. January 1st is January 1st, Rosh Hashanah, but every year it's slightly different. In the brazen Philistines of his days, the Palestinians of his day, David detected the seeds of Gog uMagog. What is Gog uMagog? Now, this is talked about extensively. Gog uMagog, the arch enemies of the Messiah. The war of Gog uMagog begins when all 70 nations of the world unite. They unite against Israel. Now he says if you take what we call the gematria, or the numerical value of the letters Gog uMagog, so all of these Hebrew letters have a numerical value as well. He says if you knew how to do that, it would give you the number 70. All of those nations, audacity, atheism, scandal, and unbridled inflation. I skipped a line, I'll read it again. All of those nations, during the period of what we call the ikvus of the Mashiach, the heel, the very bottom part of Mashiach starts to grow. This time that we see this now, he says all of those nations will suffer internal instability. Now look what's happening. I'm looking what's happening in the United States. It's a little scary. And will be plagued by revolution, audacity, atheism, scandal, and unbridled, look at this word, inflation. Truth will be virtually non-existent, and falsehood will prevail. The ultimate victory of Messiah over evil will demonstrate God's supremacy as it was never displayed before. The darkness leads to great light. And David said, yours, Hashem, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the victory and the majesty. For all that is in heaven and earth is yours. It's all you. Yours, Hashem, is the kingdom, and you are exalted as head above all. Exalted as head above all, this will be evident after the war of Gog uMagog. Now you could see, I see myself, how the nations of the world, the socialists, especially those who are involved in this concept called socialism, and they think, whatever they think they're going to do with their socialist things, bands them together against the one real true people, the Jewish people. We have to live up to that. Here comes the Psalm, Psalm number 2. Why do the peoples gather and the nations talk in vain? The kings of the earth take their stands, and the lords conspire secretly. They conspire secretly against Hashem and against his anointed. Let us cut their cords and cast off their ropes. He who sits in heaven will laugh. The Lord will mock them. Then he will speak to them in his anger, and his fury will terrify them. I myself have anointed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. I am obligated to proclaim, Hashem said to me, you are my son. I have begotten you this day. Ask of me, and I will make the peoples your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. You will smash them with a rod of iron, shatter them like an earthen vessel. And now, O kings, be wise, be disciplined. O judges of the earth, serve Hashem in awe, and rejoice with trembling. Yearn for purity, lest he grow wrathful and your way be doomed. For in a brief moment his anger will blaze. Praises for those who trust in him. This is Baruch Fleischman. That's been the second psalm of our King, King David HaMelech.